Hi, everyone. Carmen Disco here at the Launch Network. We've got an awesome show today with Made in the USA with Mr. Christopher Guerrera. We've been covering a lot of stuff. We are going through the sequence. We're telling you what you need to know to be successful with USA manufacturing and all kinds of manufacturing with your product. Let's bring him on, the man of the hour, Mr. Christopher Guerrera. Hey, Chris, what's happening, my friend?
Hey, Carmine, how are you, man? I'm going to be down your way next week, right? Doing back-to-back.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun.
Man. Can't wait. Hopefully you'll bring the sun. It's only been like 80 degrees every day. I'm hoping it warms up a little bit.
Well, you don't want me to bring the weather today, right? We got those nasty tornadoes that are coming across. We got all kind of warnings here, but I'm hoping that we're on the other side of it, so we should be okay. But I did check the weather for next week. It looks like it's going to be tough to take. Sunny and 80s.
Yeah. It is. It's tough. It is. I mean, sometimes I don't even go outside if it's under 80. That you know how people don't play lotto if it's not like 100 mil. Okay, same thing here. If it's under 80, we don't even go outside.
Yeah, pretty cool. Well, next week we got a couple good guests. Right, we got George on with his Made in America product, baby product, and we have Tom Kelly, who's known for lots of stuff like Good Morning America and Elvis Duran.
Wow.
And
well, he's a funny guy, right?
Yeah, he's a comedy. He does a lot of stand-up comedy. He's a well-known name, so we'll have some fun with him next week.
Oh,
and you and I will be together, so it'll be even more fun.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be a good time. And I know you've been doing a lot of speaking gigs, right? Weren't you on last night doing something?
I was in the Minnesota Forum. We had a good crowd. I'm going to do the one in LA in May, and so yeah, it's been pretty cool. And you know, it's been fun for me because now you see the transitions, right? How we started, and we're having different guests on with different modules that I think can help every inventor, no matter what stage they're at. They're going to need each one of these things that we continue to bring.
Yeah.
So it's been, and Carmen, I got to tell you, it's been a lot of fun working with you, even on the UIA board now. You're a good guy to work with, and it's been a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying it.
Well, I appreciate that, man. We got a lot of great things planned at the UIA, and you've been a substantial help with that. You know, just bringing more events, more education, more services to a lot of the inventors, the innovators. And we're seeing a lot of changes, like you said, as it is. I mean, a lot of things happening on that forefront. And, you know, again, same thing. I appreciate you for all you're doing, not only for the show and what's happening for inventors, but the UIA really appreciates it.
Yeah, my pleasure. And we're going to start that UIA educational series back up. Right? We had some really good, Warren was handling really, really good progress. He's going to hand the reins over to me like he did with you as the president. I'm going to start handling all those. We're lining up our next interviews for another 10-week series, and then we'll do it again in the fall. But that's also been pretty exciting. I think we've had some really good guests on, and what a place to get free education.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. You know, Warren's been doing that a lot. I know he was very impressed by what you're doing and handed over that workshop series that he really put a lot of time and energy into that. You know, I'm the president of UIA. It seems like he's planning something big, and maybe he's going to go on that SpaceX thing or something like that, and he's worried something's going to happen to him. But like, he's handed everything off. I don't know what he's up to.
He's got his Inventor Confidential, his book tour.
Oh yeah,
this is a big deal. Which got a lot of good information. If you don't have this book, go out and get it. I think it's available on March 23rd of this month, and then you can pre-order it. But yeah, a lot of good information. He's got some other things being planned, and I just see all of this getting ratcheted up, and it's been kind of cool to watch and fun to be part of.
Yeah, you know, and I was telling everybody to buy that book. Now I'm all pissed off at him because he didn't mention me in his book.
Yeah, well, he says he didn't know me well enough yet to mention me. Well, he knows me well enough now.
The next version, we better be in it or he's out.
Absolutely. After this thing sells off the chart and he's got to do an addition to it, and we better be in it.
Exactly. Well, listen, man, I know we got an awesome show today. This is one of my most favorite things that we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've been waiting for this show.
Yeah, I think, you know, when you start looking at your products, you start looking at it's time to get it to market. You want somebody to buy it, right? And everyone says, okay, I'll just put it at PayPal. And I always say, no. You need all the avenues. You want to make this as simple as possible for somebody to buy it. I'm the guy who doesn't want to, want to go get my credit cards and have to load it all in. So you want to be able to have a good payment processing firm to work with you. And this is what our guest today, Scott Conti, does. He brings the payment processing side of it. you got to have a website. But on the back end, when somebody's ready to buy it, they got to have an easy, a module, easy connection to do it. And our guy, Scott, welcome. Scott's on the show today. He's going to talk all about this, how to process your payments.
Hey, Scott, give me money.
You guys are the best. Thank you. And by the way, for the weather, I'm expecting 3 inches of snow today, so I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Now you know why I left.
Yeah, I'm like, come on back to New England, Chris. We'll have, you're always welcome. No, but thank you so much for having me. I was really excited. Carmine, congratulations on your promotion to being the president. Chris, it's always good to speak with you again. And I'm happy to, kind of explain a little bit about payment processing and just give the pointers, because most people think of, payment processing, I'll just put it on my website. But there's a lot that goes into it. And that's what I'm happy to talk to you about.
Yeah, Scott, I thought what we would do today, right? So a couple things. We're definitely going to have you as a guest on the UIA educational series with Brad, talk about websites and how you tie the processing part together.
Yep.
I thought today would be good because you're also an inventor. You've got product, right?
Yeah,
So let's talk a little bit about some of the things you do, right? As an inventor, a guy that's thinking outside the box, but how you got started on your own company and how you eventually ended up in the processing payment category.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, to give you the kind of the 30,000 foot background on me is about 15, 16 years ago, I got into payment processing and I worked for a company, and I ran the sales team. And understanding what I loved about payment processing is every single merchant is different. Every business case is different. Everything looks different. So it's not the same thing selling over and over and over. And you get to understand that. And now you fast forward a few years, I went from, I started in sales on one, and then I ended up running global sales for another company. I ran partnerships, account management, inside, outside sales for another processor. And, fast forward to 2 years ago, I have all of this information. I have all of this, I'll call it experience now. And I kept good relationships with everyone. And people would call me and say, hey, Scott, can your company, the one that you're working for today, can you guys do this particular product? And I'd say, no, I don't, but I know who does. Let me point you to the right direction. So, fast forward, boom, here comes Atlas Pay. So I created Atlas Pay as a merchant advocacy payments consulting company for the masses of the people that are saying, like, I don't know which processor is best for me. I don't know if I'm getting a fair price. Is there savings that I could be making that I'm not taking a look at? What's the best tech for my product? And that's really why I came into play with Atlas Pay. And we've been up and running for 2+ years. Things are going very, very well. And we provide merchants and folks like yourself, educational series, other processors that want to get into the space. They all come and ask me these questions, and now I have the resources to be able to answer those questions.
And we and Carmen always talk about this, like, know what you're good at and what you're not good at, right? What do I know about payment processing, right? So so it's always that finding the right person to help, and even beyond that, now it becomes part of your network. We talked about this a little bit, Scott.
Yeah.
You've also networked me with people on Amazon and in marketing categories that are all part of a bigger picture and being experts in that field, right? So know what you're good at and what you're not good at. Let somebody else handle it because it'll get done the right way.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
So Scott, real quick, one of the things that I want our listeners to know, if you have a business or don't have a business, this type of interaction is so important, because if I'm just a customer, I want it to be as easy as possible for me to pay. And if I'm a business owner, I want it to be as easy as possible for them to pay. So that's why I love this particular episode.
Yeah, no, it's so true too. And this is why choosing the right processor is important. If you only limit yourself to one sort of payment method, you're gonna exclude a lot of other people. It's like, hey, listen, I love using PayPal. I use it all the time. But guess what? There's people that say, I want to use my Amex card. So, you want to be able to, however your consumers want to pay, you want to be able to take that, and without having to go through hoops. And that's really, some of the things I agree. And as you know, it's the lifeline. So I laugh with Chris, right? And Chris, when I need manufacturing, I need invention advice, I go to Chris. And when he needs payment processing, he comes to me. That's just right in line. And, it's always nice to say, oh, I know a guy, and I will put you in front of that expert, and that's how, and as we build out our networks, we're all working together. And And guess what? We can really produce some good results for everybody.
You know, and you said it's got the back end. You want the consumer to see it as transparent. That's it.
Yeah.
No matter
Right.
how they're going to pay, it could be 100 people and they have 100 different variations, credit cards. You want it to be easy for every single one of them. So talk about it a little bit. Talk about some of the things that require good payment processing. What you need when you set it up.
Yeah, it's a great question. So, I'll take a look back, and there's really kind of like, I'll say it's a four-legged stool, if you will. One is really understanding how are you going to sell your product. So no matter what it is, are you selling direct? Are you selling online? Are you selling over mail order, telephone order? Is it subscription? All of these questions we ask, and this will help us determine who the right processing partner is for you. Because some players say, listen, I don't want to take any ingestibles. And some people are like, oh, I've got this great, CBD product, or I've got a weight loss product. Not all banks will take that. So what I do is help determine which is the best processing partner for you, not for 2 months, but for the long term. So there's, choosing the right partner with a select, and that's really upfront. This is those initial calls that you have helped me set up. I will talk to people and I'll just say, okay, let's talk about your business. It's not about the processing side. I can talk about that all day long. It's like, what is important to you? Then of course, one of the big legs of the stool is the pricing. Today's day and age, and I don't know if when the last time you guys looked at processing statements, but the processors don't make it easy to understand how much you're paying. You can kind of take, okay, my total fees are here and I divide it by total sales, and that percentage, is that good? Is it bad? Is it good for my segment? I don't know. So that's what, there's the pricing piece to make sure you have good pricing. And you mentioned it just a minute ago, Chris, the technology piece is also important. It's like, what is your website? Who's your shopping cart? Who are those? And I know you guys had Brad on from SC Digital just a week ago. And, he and I have worked together in the past too, where it's so I know how he operates and I know mine. So now I can say, oh, from a tech piece, Mr. Merchant, don't worry about it. We've already got it covered. If you're working with Brad, I know I've got an easy connection for you. And that puts people at ease.
Brad was great, by the way.
Oh, he was fantastic. Yeah, I mean, he's always fantastic, super smart. And like Chris said, he's one of those guys that knows his business. So when I have a question about that, I go to Brad. Yeah. And then, the final piece is, which is kind of gets overlooked because everyone's like, okay, I've got the right partner. I've got good pricing. I got my tech, but it's the ongoing support. It's like, after you're up and running, who do you call? Now, of course, you're going to call the processor. But if you have, someone like me in the middle where, Scott, can you help me decipher this? Can you help me understand my reports? Can you make sure that this is good? And so it's that ongoing support. And that really wraps things up nicely.
Important, I think, I think people talk about PayPal, right? And I like PayPal. I use it. And you got Venmo and some other avenues. People are using Google Pay now, Apple Pay. Mm-hmm. But then there's just people who want to use a credit card. Like I have a business card, and it makes it easy for me at the end of the year to do my taxes because I have it all categorized. I'm not searching accounts or reports. So I have a specific credit card that I like to use, and I like to store it. So I always have availability. So again, it goes back to making it simple and easy for everyone to use. And then I think about, talk about a little bit about what else does it, who do you typically work with? And then, what do they need? What type of bank accounts should they have? Should it be a business account? Is it a personal account? How do you interact the two? A little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is kind of all goes into the what they call underwriting. So when you sign up for a business account or a processing account, there are certain pieces of information that we need for the underwriters to understand. And, and the basic ones are, you need to have your company has to be it has to be founded. So it's got to be articles of incorporation. You have an EIN number. Those are the basics. You need to have your beneficial owner's driver's license to make sure that, everything's checking out. Because at the end of the day, the people that are giving you the processing account are giving you like a loan. Think of it as a loan for the right to take credit cards. So there is this process, and you do need bank statements. So you have to have a corporate bank account, those type of things. And what I do is I make it easy. I package it all up. You answer the questions on an online application. I take that information and then I determine based on the pre-qualification questions, like what do you sell? Where do you sell? Are you global? Do you have subscriptions? And then I put it to the right banking partner that I have. And those banking partners are are widespread, because like I said, not all processes are created equal, just like not all merchants are created equal. There's no cookie cutter. Things can be cookie cutter-ish, but then, you really want to make sure that you're focused on that. So I take all of that information, bring it to the bank gives us an approval, and then we're on our way. And the next piece is, well, how does the pricing look and what is the tech?
Right. So we talk about that a little bit, pricing, fees, who gets what, and I know I've worked with you and I've set up these accounts with you, and it's about as easy as you can get from a consumer standpoint. Your back end stuff, I know you got a lot of things going on, and if I have a question on a Sunday and I reach out to you, I always get an answer. That's part of like that's important to me, that knowing that when I have questions or I have a problem, I can go back to a builder I had when I bought a house in Londonderry. When I first moved back from South Carolina from the BMW days, I bought a house in Londonderry. We had a leak on a Sunday. It was pretty bad. It was coming in through the backside of the fireplace, and it was in the basement, but it was contained, and it was a drain, but I got no answer. I mean, it was pouring out. It was leaking really bad. Zero response. So what does that tell you? I mean, to me, it's like, I'll never work with this guy again. Right. Because apparently he took Sundays off. He really took them off. And nobody. In the case of you, I know you don't. I always get responses. So now I look at that in my network. That's a big deal for me. So yeah, talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll answer both of them, right? One was the pricing side and then the support, right? And the pricing, and not to bore all your watchers, and listeners, but there's really three pieces that go into a pricing model. So when you go to a PayPal, for instance, we'll use that, or a Square or Stripe, they'll all say it's 2.9% plus 30 cents for the transaction. Well, what is that? I mean, is that good? Is it bad? I'm who knows? But so what I do is I kind of break it down, and there's three pieces that go into that 2.9 and 30. One is what they call interchange. And what interchange is what the card issuing bank. So you have a Chase card in your wallet, or you have an Amex card. They keep the interchange. That's for you using their card. They keep the interchange. And then there's a little piece called, the second piece is called assessment. An assessment is what Visa and MasterCard, so, or American Express or Discover, they have a little piece too, because, even though it's a Chase card, but it might be a MasterCard, MasterCard makes their piece too. These guys are big public companies. They need to make their money. So they take a little piece. And then everything else is kind of lumped into the processor, the processing fees. And that can be split up in many different ways. But I like to think of it as like, so in that 2.9 plus 30 cents, you have a piece that goes to the card issuing bank. You have a piece that goes to Visa and MasterCard, or the associations, and then the processor needs to make some profit because they're actually doing the heavy lifting of making sure that you get your money daily. And so what I do is, no matter what sort of pricing model that you have, I put it into an analysis to see, are there any hidden fees in there? Are there things that you shouldn't be paying? Are you overpaying? And that analysis and that one-on-one discussion with the CEOs and CFOs is so appreciated. Like you were just saying, and you were giving me some praises, and I appreciate that. But, they look at it and say, this is fantastic, because I'll tell you, some of my businesses will come to me and they'll say, Scott, can you do an analysis? And I'll be honest with them, and I'll say, you know what? Go find something else. You have good pricing. Don't worry about that. And just for them to have that peace of mind to say, oh my gosh. Or another case, when you're talking support, is some of my merchants will say, hey, I don't have a problem with my pricing or my processor, but I want to see if I can lower fees. Well, I work with some partners that will help me lower the fees with their existing processor, and it's just a matter of how do you ask, who do you know, but if you don't know what you're looking at, how do you know even to what to ask for? So that's where I really try to demystify a lot of that. And then there's all sorts of other things.
Hey, Scott, real quick. And just in the top of my head, has there been a time where you went into a company and looked at and be like, man, you don't know how much money you lost. You don't want to know.
Man, it's one of those, oh my gosh, it's funny. I won't give you the exact name, but it's one of those double-edged swords when I'm talking to the CFO of this big company and they're just like, hey, and I'm just like, you are paying so much more than what you should be. And they're like, well, we've been with these guys for 20 years. And I'm like, I know. And I'm like, I am not going to do the math that shows you, you know, your monthly statements for 20 years that you, how much you, but you have to be careful because the CFO is like, well, I thought I was on top of this. You know, I can't get him fired because he's looking for me. But it's hilarious. I've done that a bunch of times, Carmine, where it's, you look at it and you're just like, oh. And then on the flip side, I've got guys that are like, I think we're getting, you know, we're not getting a good rate. And I'm like, no, you know what? You actually are. And then there's the things like, if you like your processor, well, let's figure out a way to save you some money while keeping your processor. You want to switch or you want more capacity? Because sometimes, you know, some of the processors will say, I'll give you $100,000 a month. That's your limit. Well, I'm going to sell, you know, $400,000 a month. Well, let's get you another mid too. Let's get you another account. So all of those things go into it. And what I try to do is kind of make it straightforward and easy. And there's all sorts of different things that, you know, we can, tools at my disposal to help us with finding the right partner.
Chris, as you know, it's the most important thing, but it's one of those things that you have to demystify. It's like, you know, the wizard behind the curtain, you know, people are just glad. They're just glad to be getting money, but they don't know how they're getting it.
Oh my gosh. Just to cut in on that, it's not broken. You know, it's like when you're looking at your whole system, soup to nuts, and you're like, okay, I am taking payments. I am getting money deposited every day. And I'm like, but you should be getting twice that amount of money every day, and, you know, without having to do anything except, consult with me. And those are the things that really matter. You're right, though. It's like, oh, is it broken? Nope. Well, then that's a tomorrow problem. I'll fix that tomorrow.
Well, I think of it like the insurance, even your own personal insurance, right? People, you think the longer you stay with a company, like Liberty Mutual or Allstate or State Farm, the better, right? You would think. Long term, it's not the case. They tell you you should shop it minimum every 2 years. And I can tell you, I'm that guy that does that. And you'd be surprised what you find, because everyone has a different marketing strategy. They want to bring in new clients. They drop their rates. So you always have that competitive edge. I think I was with Liberty Mutual when I was up in New Hampshire, more than 10 years. And it kept going up every year. I'm like, what is going on? Like, I'm a loyal customer.
Right.
So I started to shop a little more and found that out. So in this case, I can see that being the same thing. So Scott, you talk about like big dollars, right? Good sales dollars, fees, that's good. But what about the little guy? Who do you work with? You work with just independent inventors? And what if, I find this good with you, what if the product doesn't sell or not selling the way it should be? I always find you have good answers of networking with the right people that can help market it to get it sold better.
Right. You know, and part of the experience that, you know, or part of the, you know, experience when you're dealing with me is I'm a payment processing guy. That's what I am. But throughout these years, all of these peripheral services and goods that can help a merchant sell their product better, or, you know, prevent them from having fraud. I know a lot of those people that are in the periphery. So like you mentioned, so I know some folks that's saying, if you're going to sell on Amazon, let me hook you up with a guy that's a pro in Amazon. And I think you guys had that gentleman on not too long ago.
Yeah, we had David
exactly.
On, yep. And I just released that show we did.
So yeah, it's fantastic. So that's a piece, you know. And some people are like, geez, you know what? I've got a highly fensible product. You know, people really want to try to, you know, scam me out of my product. Well, guess what? Let's put some fraud tools in place. And, you know, I know the fraud tool guys. So it's not just processing. Processing is at the core. And then there's a whole, I'll call it an ecosystem that surrounds processing, which is, you know, subscription engines and tokenization and, recurring billing engines, and all of those type of things go into it. So, and to answer the question is, I don't distinguish between a small guy and the big guy, right? It's like, I take a look and I say, how can I help you with what your business is? So a lot of my portfolio, and Chris, you know some of them, small guys, you know, not a lot of volume, but they deserve the help. You know, that's the reason why I got into business. I didn't get into business to help the big guys. They have teams of people. The big guys will come to me because they have very specific questions of like, hey, can you do this analysis? Can you help me, you know, save money without switching my processor? But the little guys, and which is how we all started, where do they go? And that's where I can kind of come in and help out and, shepherd them to a processor. And by the way, there is an evolution too. I might have them start at one piece because it's down and dirty. The pricing's simple. 2.9 and 30 is great. They're connected to, Brad's company. Real simple. Here's the plugin for that. Done. Now, as you grow and now you're doing 5 million a year, 10 million a year, maybe we got to we got to tweak that a little bit. Now you deserve to have a little bit better pricing, and you deserve to have a little bit, more flexibility in your offers. And that's what I can help. So it's not a static point in time and not, see you later, that was it. It's let's help you throughout the process. So all those little guys become big guys. They all start somewhere.
Yeah, I find you as best way to describe you is user friendly, honestly. No, because like to set it up, we talk about all the different shows we've done, Carmine, especially, right? Like each one of these lends itself to a new path, right? And now the merchant side is always almost like the last thing thought about, right? It's like,
Yeah.
Oh, I got to sell this thing now. Who do I call? So how about a timeline? Scott, how long does it take to set up? What can somebody expect when they come to you?
Yeah. So, just to give you a little background, these are interesting times with COVID coming in and the pandemic. And when I say interesting times, there was a lot of shutdown in the United States from all the point of sale services, which are the brick and mortar, your hair salons, your bars and grills, and, all of these, the local stores were all shut down. When they all shut down, they're not taking any credit cards. So the banking system at large lost all of that business. So now e-commerce, they look at e-commerce as a little bit more high risk because there's not someone there swiping their card and you can't see their signature. It's a little more risky. So the banks today are a little more risk adverse and they're doing more due diligence. So before I could get you an account set up in a week, no problem. Well, in today's day and age, it takes a couple of weeks. That's providing you have a full package, and you need to have a full package, but that's what I'm there to guide you to make sure that you have that. And then we go to, so it may take, 10 business days, which is unheard of 2 years ago. But now this is the norm. So to give you an exact timeline, Chris, really difficult. And it depends on what you're doing. If there's any sort of high risk, it's going to take longer. If you're selling straight sale widgets and sell one at a time, tidy hook, easy. That's a different one.
Yeah, I mean, the multiple accounts we've set up together, it's been pretty quick.
Yeah.
Pretty easy. And any issues that I found throughout maybe a sale on a weekend, you were all over it. How about, I see some customers out there charging fees up front. I mean, I know you don't, right? There's a back end of the fees, but talk about that again. I mean, you always got to watch who you're working with, right? Because I always find companies like to take funds up front and with no deliverables. So talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. Are you talking about like how I charge or like?
I just hear other people as well. Like people are taking fees before they actually just to get them enrolled. Like in your case, you don't do any of that.
No. I mean, and this is where you really want to understand who you're doing business with.
Yes.
It's a philosophy of mine. So it's like, I can't say this is the right way. It's my way. And I'm not going to change from it. A lot of us will say we get our pound of flesh on the back end. So that it's only when we're successful together. And if we're not, neither one of us, you're not selling anything and I'm not collecting any fees, no problem. We can part our ways that way. There are other players that say, oh, I'll get you set up for, $2,500. I'll take care of it all for you. If you have the money and it's your brother-in-law, yeah, guess what? Go ahead.
So it's a family donation.
Yeah, but I might charge my brother-in-law a little bit more than that, but I love him dearly. But
yeah, I mean that's a real issue because it's happening today, even in the event world. Carmine sees it all the time. Where people, companies are taking funds up front and giving false expectations of deliverables, which is the worst scenario you can do. But you said it. Make sure you know who you're working with. Do your due diligence. Check them out. Get credit references. Talk to people who have worked with them before.
Yep, absolutely. And then, there's all sorts of new technologies coming out too, which are always interesting. For the merchant that the merchant could be with. So let's say you're selling refrigerators and you have a big average ticket. It's $1,200 and it's a specific type of refrigerator. Well, there's not a lot of margin in selling refrigerators. Well, maybe, sometimes they'll do what they call a surcharge. And surcharging means that I'm going to push the fees onto the consumer to say, yeah, it's $1,200 for the refrigerator, but you also owe me $120 for the fees if you're using a credit card. If you don't use a credit card, you can use the cash. So it's like I remember the old days going to the gas station. You know, it's $10 or $1 a gallon if you're going to use cash, and it's $1.25 if you use credit card.
They still do that down here in Carolina. I think it Spinks. They fool you. Big sign that shows like 10 cents less until you get to the pump. Oh no, that was for cash.
Yeah, right. You're using your corporate card there, and But so these are also some things that are like trending, very strongly right now. It's not for everyone, and it's not for every place. It's usually you find that stuff happening in in different areas. Like, okay, this area is okay with it. This area up here, up in New England, we're not seeing it. It's not as prevalent. Is it there? Of course. And this is no different than when you guys, like you give a donation to someone that's, I'm going to run a race and I'm going to give you $100 for your donation. And then they come back and say, well, would you like to pay 103? Because that way the full $100 goes to the donation. And you're like, yeah, of course I'll pay the 103. So that's okay. That's acceptable. Those are the types of things that are coming. And those are the types of things that also keep like me and my merchants fresh, where it's not just, hey, same old. Here's something that you might like. Here's something that might benefit your business. And I can bring that to the table as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I see that as being a big deal. Do you have a preference of what type of account or what type of client you take in? I'm sure there's an evaluation on all of it, but I mean, if it's, if you've got all the information that you need, I'm sure it makes it easier, but do you have that? What are your expectations when someone comes to you?
Yes, it's a good question. All I ask for whoever's that comes to me, is we have an honest conversation. And when I say that, it's if you already have 5 applications out with other players, no problem. That's okay. I just want to know, so that way, I'm not duplicating efforts that you're already doing. Because a lot of people get like skittish and they're just like, well, I'll just apply here. And like, oh, wait a minute, I'll apply here. Hey, Scott, where do you think I should go? And I'm like, oh, why don't we apply here? And like, oh, I already have an application. Let's have an honest conversation about what you want. Let's have an honest conversation about the products that you're selling. And that way we start off on the right foot. It's a lot easier to start off on a good foundation than it is trying to unravel something that you find out, 2 weeks into it and you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that. You didn't tell me that. Right. So that's the only thing that I really ask. I am very, I'll say opportunistic, right? If someone comes to me and they're small, no problem. I don't have a revenue threshold. And on the flip side is, I get hired by big companies that say, hey, will you come in and be my processing guy for 3 months so I understand what's going on? Sure, no problem. So it's about the upfront and honesty, because there's people that I've said, no, I don't want to do business with you because of a feeling, a vibe, or just not honest. That's where I try to weed out, and that has never proven to be a bad decision for me.
Yeah, that's a big deal. I think that's another part of that whole network, the credibility and the trust, and just being transparent. I think that's important. Scott, if someone wanted to give you a buzz today or get a hold of you, how do they do it? How do they find you?
Sure, absolutely. So my email address is probably the quickest way. It's Scott Conti. That's all one word, SCOTTCONTI @atlaspay.io. AtlasPay is one word, .io. And then you can always, reach me anytime via the phone at 617-388-5874.
And Carmen, I can tell you, I know you're starting to send some people his way. Scott's been really, for me, really great to work with. It's another thing on my plate that I just don't have to deal with. And I can trust someone like Scott that's going to handle it and have my best interest.
Well, the big thing about it that I have is that, when I was younger, of course, I never wanted people to think I didn't know something. So sometimes they just don't ask the question that they really should be asking. So anyone that's out there listening, I beg you, ask the question. Guy like Scott, ask him. He's not going to say, I've never heard that before. He's not going to laugh that you don't know it. You're not supposed to know it. He knows it. So please call him, ask the question, let him set you up the right way. That money adds up, right, Scott? I mean,
every penny adds up, and I look at it just like that, Carmine. Every penny, it's your penny, and that adds up over. Let's say you're in business for 10 years and you get 5 extra pennies a day. That matters, and it really does.
No, I totally agree. And that's what I love about what Chris and what you're, putting this together. I mean, this information is invaluable. I mean, because you're not thinking about it. You got this guy, all of a sudden now, Paul, I'm hoping people are going, wait a minute, what am I being charged?
Right.
Sure, I have my margins to cover it, but why should I think about it? Why should I worry?
Right. Could you be doing better? Could you be doing something differently? Is there a different technology out there? All of those things come into play. And I kind of look at it, every single merchant that I talk to, it's an open slate. It's like, okay, fresh, a fresh look at it.
Wow.
And or like, if I'm just getting into the business and I need a merchant, I need somebody to process my payments, like, who do I go to? Who are the good guys? Well, now you have one, right?
Right.
You have Scott. I mean, it's validated, and I mean, I validated all day long on how easy it was to work with Scott. I didn't know anything about payment processing at all. And
I can vouch for that, Carmine. He had no idea.
I
did. I had no idea.
Scott, he had hair when I met him. Now he's shaved.
Yeah. Well, we're all in that club.
I mean, come on. No, but hey, Scott, real quick question.
I just hold a picture of Tyler now and show him all the hair he has. That's what I use.
With this pandemic, Scott, I know that you saw a slowdown stuff, but this is insane for this type of. I mean, cash is going away.
Yeah, online business, e-commerce, mobile, touchless apps. You even go to your local pizza place and you hold your phone out and they scan and they're like, okay, great. So it is all going digital, and to make sure that you do it securely, safely, and you're making some decent money at it. I mean, of course, that's what I'm here to help. You're exactly right. It's not going away.
Yeah,
I don't even carry cash very rarely. If I do, it's by accident. I just don't carry cash anymore. I mean, I haven't hit that Bitcoin yet. I'm tempted.
That's a whole different category.
Yeah,
that's a whole different category.
Oh my God. But Scott, you must have seen this coming. I remember years ago, early 2000s, when I saw like soda machines and different machines taking credit cards. Yeah. I said, man, they're going to get rid of cash at some point.
Oh my gosh. And, I'll consider us like the elder statesmen right now, but the new generation coming up, they don't buy like we buy. They don't watch TV anymore. So, putting a DRTV sort of advertisement depends on your demographic, right? If you're selling, sleep aids for guys like us, yeah, guess what? It goes on TV. But you sell something to a kid, you better understand how they buy and how they watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It really is a different market now. I mean, like, if I don't answer my kids within nanoseconds, they're like, yo, hello, are you there? I'm like, yeah, I'm trying to do something else. I'll get back in a minute. But it's like they want an answer right away.
My daughter's texting me from upstairs. I said, are you kidding me?
Yeah, my daughter was just saying, Dad, I'm going on a car ride. I'm like, hey, you should be in school. What are you doing? Hang on.
Hey, Scott, that reminds me one quick thing. I have this little card for my daughter that I can fill and pay because she doesn't carry cash. That's what all the kids are. Is there anything for kids that you know of that's better for that kind of stuff?
Man, there's some and one of my buddies has a company right now, and this is a plug for his company. It's called Step. And it is geared for money management for children, for kids, teenagers, and it's geared for how they buy. So it's a card that gets reloaded. It's online. It's like they can do a Venmo sort of type of peer-to-peer. It's fantastic. And he showed me this a while ago, and it's just fantastic. So those are the types of things that are out there that, if you don't know where to look. But that's an excellent question.
That's awesome.
You don't know until you know. Until you know, and it's too late.
And if you didn't know before you knew, till you know, you're in trouble.
Now you know.
That's right.
Oh man! All right, we're gonna close the show before we really get out of hand. And next time you're on, Scott, we'll ask you about that big fish behind you, because I know Chris has a big fish story too.
The next one will be the UAA educational series. We're gonna have Scott on, and we'll get into that fish story right from the get-go.
You know what? It's a good story. I'm not gonna lie.
Hey, fish story.
Thank you guys so much. Hey, Chris, take care. I hope that weather doesn't affect you too much.
Thank you.
Carmine, thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure talking with you
Oh
guys.
man, no problem. It's a lot of fun. And I really appreciate everything you're talking to all you listeners out there. This is no joke. One of the biggest things that you could do to help your business, make sure you can take money when you need to, how your customers want to pay you. Super important. And then of course, make sure the fees are correct. These situations, the things that Chris Guerrera is putting together on Made in USA is so important, and it's so much fun to do this stuff. These shows aren't scripted. We're having fun. We're not making this stuff up. And I want all you listeners out there, go on out to Google Play, iTunes, leave us a review, leave us a rating. We could really use it. Going out to our YouTube page where you can see us live, and that is on the Launch Network on YouTube. And we really appreciate you all listening. If you have some ideas or questions, send them on in, and we will catch you next time on Made in USA, Mr. Christopher Guerrera. You all take care.